And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We have breaking news, and it's really no surprise. There's going to be plenty of breaking news going on over the next few days leading up to free agency. But first, let's get this started the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this live breaking edition of Believers Talk, where we're going to talk about the most recent releases by the Buffalo Bills. The salary cap number came out earlier today. We learned what the salary cap number was going to be. No big surprise, 182.5 is where the salary cap came in at. And when that started, the Buffalo Bills had a little bit more than $3.5 million in cap space. So we didn't think it would take long for Brandon Beane and this Buffalo Bills front office to try to create cap space before a free agency. And they did just that. News just coming across that the Buffalo Bills have released both John Brown and Quentin Jefferson, two guys who were signed. Well, Quentin Jefferson was signed just last season, and John Brown's been with this team a few years, wide receiver. Unfortunately, the 2020 NFL season did not go as planned for John Brown, only playing in 9 games, had some injury issues all season long. Now, the John Brown release will save us, I believe it's somewhere between 7.8 and $7.9 million. And then the Quentin Jefferson release will save us, I believe it's like $6.6 million. So you're talking about a savings of a little bit over $15 million. So now that $3 million that the Buffalo Bills had, to begin this day has ballooned all the way up to about $17 million already. So I saw the smoke release coming. Bummer, but I get it. Says the way, guys. Again, as you come in here, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, share this video as we are bringing you breaking news. Hey, Buffalo Bills fans, 27-17. It's breaking news, and again, we will see more of this as the days go on, leading up to free agency. So we'll talk about John Brown a little bit. Again, started in 8 games this year, played in 9, 52 targets, 33 receptions. A far cry from last year, right? Last year, you're talking about 115 targets. Now, this is going to change everything. It's easy for Gabe Davis to step in when they're not expecting him, when opposing teams are not expecting him to be that next man up. But now teams will be expecting Gabriel Davis. Now there's tape on Gabriel Davis. So does this mean that Gabriel Davis is going to fill that number 2 spot? We have seen other wide receivers, including Emmanuel Sanders of the Saints, being released as well. Do the Buffalo Bills try to get another wide receiver option for cheaper? In fact, if you listen to Paul from #Sports, he says, and I agree with him, it's not impossible that we don't see John Brown back at a much smaller number. Let him test free agency, see if he gets the deal that he wants. If not, come back to Buffalo at a discounted rate, and the Buffalo Bills will re-sign you at that time. Obviously, a lot of that still up in the air, waiting for free agency to start. Does this make room for Duke Williams? Asked the way. Everyone's in love with Duke Williams. If you follow the show, I'm not the biggest Duke Williams fan in the world. Not saying that I don't like him, but I just don't think he has the talent to be an NFL wide receiver. And we saw last year. Last year they didn't look his way at all. They went to Jake Kumaro instead of him when they needed a wide receiver. In week 17, he didn't play. These are all signs that Duke Williams might not be the player that a lot of Bills Mafia hopes that or wanted him to be. You think the Bills gearing up to sign an edge rusher? I think that they need to spend the draft addressing the offensive and defensive lines of scrimmage. I think that's where, you look at the money that the Buffalo Bills are spending on defense, over $115 million on the defensive side of the ball. And you're talking about a cap. I'm sorry, I think it's more than that actually. But anyway, you're talking about a cap number that had to be reduced. By the way, I'm also watching the Buffalo Bulls ladies Bulls team in their first round of the MAC tournament, watching some action. The Buffalo Bulls right now well ahead of Kent State, 21-10 in the first quarter. But yeah, I believe that we have to work on the offensive and defensive lines during the draft. And I feel like that would make things cheaper for us. And I think there are plenty of good options out there. And as John comes in and says, get me Milano. This might be some money to save to work on a Milano deal. And, you know, if you're asking me if I would rather Milano or John Brown, I'm going to pick Milano every day of the week because we have a lot of wide receiver talent on this team. Remember, we have Isaiah Hodgins on this team, who was a draft pick last season. Have no idea if he can contribute to this team or not. We have guys on this team. We still have obviously we have Stephon Diggs. We have Cole Beasley. We knew that John Brown was a 2 or 3 year guy for the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, like I said, this past year did not go well for John Brown with the injuries. And he did not do as well as he did the year previously with the Buffalo Bills. And so we had to release him. Only 458 receiving yards. Now, he did average 13.9 yards per reception. So hopefully for John Brown's sake, and listen, I have no issues with John Brown. Wish him well. And again, maybe we see him in the Buffalo Bills uniform still when all is said and done. I'm a huge fan of Joseph Asai. If we can snag him, that would be great. And guys, I'll be giving you a lot of draft coverage after the free agency period ends, right? Not saying free agency technically never ends once it begins, but once the frenzy ends and the content stops going like crazy. But you know I have you covered right here on Billievers Talk. So if you're not subscribed to Billievers Talk, hit that subscribe button. Guys, while you're here, hit that thumbs up button. Let people know what's going on. Brian Bowers in the house. Again, the Buffalo Bills releasing John Brown, wide receiver, and Quentin Jefferson, saving up to about 16, maybe 17 million in cap space overall between the two moves. And again, possibly moving the Bills cap space up to upwards of about 18 million when it's all said and done. So you look at Quentin Jefferson. This really is no surprise. Really, Quentin Jefferson was a big disappointment for the Buffalo Bills, if you ask me. Again, signed with the Buffalo Bills during the 2020 off season. Mark Davis comes in and says, curious to see what Bean does next. Mafia fan, I missed you all. Welcome, Elliot. Glad to see you in here as well. Quentin Jefferson started 4 games for the Buffalo Bills, played in all 16. He had 3 sacks, only 23 tackles overall for the year. And he was just a disappointment, especially for the amount of money we signed him for. I feel like we could have asked for more out of him. The previous year in Seattle, he had 26 tackles, 3.5 sacks, so really was on pace for the same type of numbers. And that season, he only played 14 games. But again, still about the same. I'm not a huge fan of Quentin Jefferson. That's someone that I'm okay seeing leave. And again, the money we saved, hey John, is worth the release for him as well. I'm trying to get the exact numbers here on my phone as far as how much we saved. We also have Vernon Butler. We restructured Vernon Butler's deal as well. So there are plenty of moves being made here by the Buffalo Bills. 3 moves. If you follow me on Twitter, I asked today, I gave you an over-under as far as the Buffalo Bills moves today, and I put it at 1.5. So if you selected over, obviously you won. If you're not following me on Twitter, make sure you do that as well right after you hit that thumbs up button. And again, guys, as I'm giving you this live update about our Buffalo Bills, watching the Lady Bulls team, the Buffalo Bulls begin their the MAC championship week for the ladies. The men start tomorrow. The women Bull team up 21-10 to start the second quarter. I think Smith is gonzo. Which Smith? Lee Smith. Lee Smith is set to retire possibly. Last time we heard from Lee Smith, he hinted at retirement. So might see him retire, and that might free up a little bit more cap space as well. I'm sure that Brandon Beane and this Buffalo Bills front office is not done yet, right? There are still plenty of names out there that you're not sure if you'll see restructured or if you'll see them released altogether. Maybe there's some players right now that they're trying to work out restructure, but if it doesn't work out, they will release them. We talked about that with Mitch Morse the other day as well. But man, this news, maybe not the biggest news, but at the same time, this does change things, right? I mean, you look at this offense and you look at what John Brown produced when he was on the field, big numbers. So, and the Buffalo Bills up 23-12 now at the start of the second quarter. What did I say? I think again, you have to look out for Lee Smith. He said last time we talked to him, he hinted at retirement, or we heard from him, he hinted at retirement. So we'll see what happened. The details of Mitch Morse's restructure came out, according to Matthew Fairburn, reduced by $2.9 million. Get smaller roster bonuses. This lowers his 2020 cap hit by almost 3 million instead of 2 million. So that's a huge plus for the Buffalo Bills. And then, like I said, with John Brown, Quentin Jefferson being gone, save us about 14 million. I'm reading at NewYorkUp.com right now. 2 moves free up a little more than 14 million in cap space. So that will put the cap space somewhere. We save somewhere if you include Mitch Morse's estimated 3 million. So we're talking about 16.5 million. Add that. So we're close to about 18 million in cap space right now if you're keeping track at home, and that's not including whatever they did with Vernon Butler, as I'm trying to read here. Vernon Butler agreed to a reduced deal to remain with the team. Details on his reduced deal have not been announced at this time. So we're looking at about 18 to 19 million in cap space right now for the Buffalo Bills, and that's not including the details on this Vernon Butler deal, the reduced contract there. So we'll keep you up to date on that. The big news, of course, John Brown and Quentin Jefferson both released by the Buffalo Bills. Again, we're going to keep you up to date on all things Buffalo Bills right here on Believers Talk and Buffalo Sports. As I said, watching the Buffalo Bills ladies team in the first round of the MAC tournament. The quarterfinals today. The men's tournament starts tomorrow. So make sure you keep an eye out for those as well. Right now, the Lady Bulls up 25-14, 7:43 left to go in the second quarter. If you're watching this, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Thank you so much for joining me. Calvin comes in and says Buffalo needs to go wide receiver. Tony from Florida, he'll be a good weapon for Allen. Again, I want to focus on the offensive and defensive lines during the draft. If we go after a wide receiver, I would love to see a free agent. I think what we learned last year in the draft is that you can find wide receivers deep. Now, this year's wide receiving class, not nearly as deep as last year's. Last year's wide receiving depth was amazing. But I still think you could find a good wide receiver late, a good number 2, maybe number 3 wide receiver late in the draft, especially someone who can complement Diggs and Beasley, and maybe Gabe Davis can step up into that number 2 role. And then you have to see what Isaiah Hodgins brings you. This opens up some opportunities for the young players to step up and fill those roles. Plus, if you look at, listen, I was thinking about this earlier. The Buffalo Sabres signed Taylor Hall this past offseason in the NHL to a 1-year deal, right? No one was expecting that. Taylor Hall, one of the key acquisitions in free agency. Who's not to say that there's a lot of NFL talent, a lot of really good NFL talent that's willing to strike up a rental deal, a 1-year deal for $4, $5, $6 million, just so next year they're available again when that cap does go back up, and then maybe in a couple years when the cap goes back to where it should have been, they're ready for that big deal. They're ready to strike that big deal. That could very well happen. You could see someone like Emmanuel Sanders or somebody else at the wide receiver market take a 1-year, $5-6 million deal and say, listen, I'll make my money here in a little bit. Let's go play with Josh Allen for 1 season, get those stats up a little bit, and then make my money. Those are all possible. We don't want to talk about the Sabres, says Buffalo Bills fan. Maybe. Hey, Victor, good to see you in here. Again, just keeping you guys up to date on free agency news. Going to leave here in a second. But John Brown and Quentin Jefferson both have been released by the Buffalo Bills. And again, Vernon Butler takes a contract restructure. We have not seen or heard what that all entails right now, but you're looking at the Buffalo Bills with the 2 moves, with the release of John Brown and Quentin Jefferson, saving just over a little over $14 million in cap space. Talk about the Mitch Morse thing, a little less than $3 million. So you're talking about $17 million in cap space already saved. Not even worried about the Vernon Butler thing yet, but we're going to hear more about that, and that could save us a boatload of money as well. Geek Squad comes in, Starla Toule is coming back, so the Jefferson cut don't hurt too bad. No, it does not. You're absolutely right. And we knew that Star would come back this year, and we're all looking forward to seeing what kind of shape he is in. Remember, he's had a year off, okay? We haven't heard anything about Starla Toule for a year. So to think that he'll come back and just be as dominant as he was 2 years ago might not be a true fact. We have to see what kind of shape Starla Toule comes back in. How did he take the year off? What did he do to stay in shape? Or did he do anything to stay in shape at all? We know that sometimes these players, especially on line scrimmage, have a hard time staying in shape. So we'll see what Starla Toule looks like when he comes back. Hopefully the training staff in Buffalo have been keeping an eye on that, keeping in contact with him so they know what's going on. So again, guys, the Buffalo Bills, they cut John Brown. And again, according to Paul from Hashtag Sports and others may agree, John Brown could be back. He just will be back at a lighter deal, let's say. And then they also released Quentin Jefferson, defensive tackle. So those are the most recent moves. Again, we're going to keep you up to date right here on Billievers Talk. So hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Like this video, leave a comment, and then again, hit that subscribe button. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.